I think that I discovered Jenny Lawson's website, The Blogus, around 4 years ago. I was immediately smitten by her wonderful storytelling. I eagerly followed all of her writing, not just at her blog, but at the Houston Chronicle parenting blog she co-writes, her Twitter feed, her tongue-in-cheek bad advice column, and even a regular feature at an online adult toy store. Over the years, although my boss is a douche canoe, so I do have to read that one at home. Over the years, Jenny has allowed us to feel an extended part of her endearing and remarkable family, and to share some of the joy and pain of her sometimes challenging life. She has inspired and helped many, both with her candid discussions of mental health struggles and with her sometimes accidental charity. With this funny yet deeply personal book, she has begun to expose parts of her life about which we had previously only been given hints. Regular readers of Jenny's blog know that some of her more entertaining posts are those wherein she recounts her battles with clueless product marketing managers. And among these, my personal favorites are the exchanges with marketing agents who prove not to be so clueless after all, but rather dive right in and playfully respond to Jenny with humor and wit. Recently, I was rereading one such post from 2008 wherein Jenny tried to get Chipotle to buy advertising for $100,000. Somehow the exchange managed to drift off into discussions of proper punctuation, the correct plural of Sasquatch, and midget porn. But along the way, Jenny noted that if Chipotle gave her the money, it would probably make the New York Times and all the bloggers would be talking about it. I'm happy to report that while I'm sure the 100 large would have been useful, Jenny did manage to make the New York Times without Chipotle's help, and I'm pretty certain that all the bloggers are talking about it, if only to themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great privilege to ask you to join me in welcoming the New York Times #1 best-selling author, Jenny Lawson, to the Gaithersburg Book Festival.
Holy shit. I shouldn't have said that before my disclaimer. I am completely overwhelmed that so many of you are here, and thank you. Thank you not just because you're here, but also thank you because we just found out that the book is on the speak directly in the microphone. I'm gonna get down low. Okay. I'm too tall for this microphone. I'll just hang over it. So, very angry here. But also, thank you, because I just found out that the book is for a full month has been on the New York Times bestseller list, and it came as a huge surprise to everyone, including myself. And what's so awesome about that is I just keep going back to the fact that the reason why the book is so popular is because of us. It's because of all of the misfits out there who are like, we're together. We're totally in this together. And I think it's so amazing to have this like group of fantastic misfits. As a matter of fact, somebody on my on the blog said something like the misfit mating call should be like something like, "Get the fuck away from me!" and it is. But still, there are some things that bring us all together. So I wanted to start with a very quick disclaimer that I should have said before I cursed a lot. I apologize in advance for offending you, because you are going to listen and giggle at non sequiturs about Hitler and abortion and poverty, and you will feel superior to all the uptight, easily offended people who need to learn how to take a fucking joke. But somewhere in here, you'll hear one random thing that you're sensitive about, and everyone else will think it's hysterical, but you will think, oh, that is way over the line. I apologize for that one thing. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. The chapter that I'm going to read today is one of my favorites because I get to scream such inappropriate things. And it's so much fun. And I always feel like even if it like just completely bombs, I'm still going to be able to say, guess what I said to a crowd of people. So if you've read the book already, you'll know exactly why. This chapter is called The Psychopath on the Other Side of the Bathroom Door. Some of you know where we're going with this. A few weeks ago, my friend Lotta told me that her doctor told her that her antidepressants weren't working because she had too many toxins in her body and that she needed to use a colon cleanse to flush everything out of her system. It sounded completely insane, and I told her that. But then she mentioned that when she took the colon cleanse, she lost 3 pounds that very day, and I was immediately in. I convinced myself that I owed it to my family to have my crazy pills work properly, but really I just wanted to lose 3 pounds without working out. And that whole last sentence kind of proves why I need to be on crazy pills. So I went to the grocery store, but I couldn't find the colon cleanse. I considered asking the pharmacist, but as I was waiting in line, I had a conversation in my head that went a little something like this. Yes, I'd like some colon cleanse. I've never heard of that, said the pharmacist in my head. Sounds like something deviants use. No. It's something that cleans out your colon so that your antidepressants work better. I think you're using your antidepressants wrong. They go in your mouth. You are surprisingly unhelpful for a healthcare worker. I am calling the police, you deviant. And I'm not sure why I jumped right to the pharmacist calling the police, but once the thought was in my head, it was stuck there. And so I panicked a little when the pharmacist asked what I actually needed. I paused awkwardly and then asked where the reading glasses were, and then he said that they didn't carry reading glasses, which was weird because most pharmacies do, and I always like to try them on and pretend that I'm the naughty librarian. So instead of the colon cleanse, I decided that I would just take a bunch of X-Lax because I figured next best thing, right? I bought the extra strength stuff because it was the same price as the regular strength. And so technically it was like I was saving money. And I thought it would help my argument later when my husband Victor demanded to know why I had bought $20 worth of unnecessary laxatives. Although later it turned out he didn't really care about the cost effectiveness because he hates being economically feasible or just wants me to be fat or something. I already knew that he would be judgy about the whole thing because he was also very unsupportive when I wanted to buy those Chinese foot pad things that suck all of the toxins out of your feet while you sleep. He claimed the whole Chinese foot pad thing was a scam, but I think it's just because he wants me to suffer or possibly that he's racist. And then when I called him racist, he got all mad and screamy, and I was all, I don't even know what I'm saying. Those are the toxins talking. He still wouldn't let me buy them. And this is exactly why I waited until the week that he left for a business trip to New York to actually do the cleanse. I took 2 chocolate squares of X-Lax that night, but then I noticed that the directions said that it would bring gentle results, and it seemed like a good colon cleansing shouldn't be gentle at all. So I took 3 more tabs. And they were chocolatey and delicious, and I was kind of hungry, so I ate another one. And then nothing happened at all. So the next morning, I took 2 more. Because at this point, I thought maybe there was something wrong with me and I had some sort of freakishly high laxative tolerance. And then I went to Starbucks and I picked up a giant Frappuccino. See, you guys get it. I didn't know. No one told me the coffee was a laxative. I know now. So I drove back to my home, drinking my Frappuccino, and then my intestines exploded. I mean, they didn't literally explode, but it totally felt that way. At first, I was all, okay, pain is good, feel the burn. But then I realized that this was not like yoga, and that I had, in fact, made a horrible, horrible mistake. I'm not going to get graphic, but it basically felt like my legs had melted and an elephant had crawled inside my stomach and was clawing its way out. And the elephant had claws, apparently. And his nose was made of snakes. Since Victor was in New York and Haley was at school, my daughter, I had the house to myself, which was good because honestly, there would have been no way to maintain the sensual mystery of womanhood had anyone heard the noises coming from that bathroom. At a certain point, I started worrying that I might be ODing. I wasn't sure what ODing on laxatives actually looked like, but I was fairly certain that it would be messy and that you'd probably shit out your entire colon. I'm not sure if this is actually medically possible, and I considered calling Lotta to ask her if she felt like she was shitting out her colon when she did her cleanse, but I wasn't sure that I could talk without screaming, and also I didn't have her phone number. And so I sat there thinking that this would be a horrible way to die, because basically no matter what I had accomplished in my life, it would always be overshadowed by, and then she died on the toilet from pooping out her own lower intestine. Like if it had happened to Thomas Edison, that would totally be the first thing in his Wikipedia entry. It'd be all, Thomas Edison, who pooped out his own colon, made a variety of inventions and changed the way we live today. Did we mention he pooped out his own colon? Because he totally did. Thomas Edison pooped out his own colon. Honestly, we can't stress this enough. It was about this time that I decided I needed to take action, so I found some Pepto-Bismol and took a full dose. I considered taking more, but at this point, I was concerned I might have to call 911 for help. And I didn't want to have to explain why I had taken 3 times the recommended amount of laxatives and 3 times the recommended amount of anti-diarrheal medicine, because even to me, that sounded like some sort of poorly planned suicide attempt. Taking just 1 dose of the anti-diarrheal seemed somewhat rational comparatively. Surely, I thought, this will make me seem more credible and much less likely to be put on suicide watch. Of course, the Pepto-Bismol was no match for the raw power of the X-Lax and was much like wearing shin guards in the middle of a tornado. Except even less effective, because at least with shin guards, when they found your body later, you could still wear a skirt in your coffin. Unless your legs got ripped off entirely, which could totally happen. But the Pepto-Bismol didn't do anything except turn my tongue black. Interesting side note, apparently only like 1 in 6 people when you take Pepto-Bismol turns your tongue black, and everyone else it doesn't. I didn't realize this at the time. I thought it happened to everyone. So like 5/6 of the people that read this book are like, what the fuck is she talking about? And the other 1/6 like, yeah, that happens to me too. And the only reason that I know this is because Pepto-Bismol contacted me. They were not pleased. It crossed my mind that maybe eating a bunch of cheese might help, because because it's organic and homeopathic. Because I went to school with a girl who ate too much cheese and got so constipated she had to go to the hospital to have the poop removed by a doctor. And after I heard that, I could never quite look at her in the same way, and I often wondered whether she got to keep the poop they removed, like when you get to keep your tonsils. And then I remembered that I didn't even have any cheese in the house, and that even if I did, it wouldn't matter because I couldn't leave the toilet long enough to get it. And that is when I heard the noise at the bathroom door. It sounded like someone leaning against the door and tapping it lightly with his knuckles, and I was all, oh my God, I didn't lock the bathroom door. And then I thought, wait, why would I even not need to lock the bathroom door since I'm the only one home? My initial thought was that it was a murderer or a rapist, which was quickly followed up by the thought that if it was a rapist, he was going to be terribly disappointed. I heard the possible rapist again, and so I coughed because I thought it might be a burglar who just didn't realize I was at home. I hoped that the coughing would give him the hint that he needed to leave, although technically the other noises coming from the bathroom were probably much more intimidating than the coughing. But I was trying to be polite because I'm a lady. And then someone slid a note under the door. And I just stared at it because seriously, what the fuck? It was so baffling, I couldn't even get scared. I tried to slide my foot over to reach the note, which was a small white slip of paper, but I couldn't reach it. So I just yelled weakly, "Hello? Did you just pass me a note?" But no one answered. And then I started to get freaked out, and I silently thanked God that I had thought to bring the phone into the bathroom just in case I needed to call to report the laxative overdose. I picked up the phone to call the police, but then I considered how it would sound when I had told them that I was calling from inside my bathroom, where I had OD'd on laxatives, and that a possible rapist was quietly passing me notes under the bathroom door. Yeah. And then I thought it would be really weird if the note said something like, "Do you like me? Circle yes or no." And I probably would have laughed too if it wasn't for the laxative rapist combo bearing down on me. Then another note came slowly peeking from under the door, and I realized this wasn't even a note at all. It was actually the wrapper from a Band-Aid. And that's when I realized I was probably dealing with a psychopath, because why would anyone pass me a Band-Aid wrapper unless they were completely insane? So I yelled, "I'm calling the police, and I have diarrhea from AIDS," because I thought that would discourage a rapist. I wasn't even sure whether AIDS caused diarrhea, but I figured it probably did. And then it got really quiet, and suddenly the Band-Aid wrapper was violently pulled back from underneath the door, and I was all, "What the hell?" And then it shot back in the bathroom again, and this time I could see that it was being pushed under the door by a fucking cat paw. And that's when I realized that the cat had knocked over my purse and was just shoving receipts and assorted purse flotsam under the door. Then I murdered my cat, but only in my mind. It occurred to me that I should write this all down, but I didn't have anything to write on except for that slip of paper that the cat had pushed under the door. And so I yelled, "Posey, push the paper further." But he didn't, because he's an asshole. And also he's a cat, so he doesn't speak English. So instead, I wrote this on toilet paper with lipstick, but just the keywords and not the whole thing, because that would be ridiculous. And then I said a little prayer thanking God for saving me from being assaulted, and also for not making me have to explain to the ambulance drivers that I had accidentally mistaken my cat for a rapist after purposely overdosing on laxatives in order to make my antidepressants work better. Mainly because that's the kind of story that gets told over and over again to the new ambulance crew recruits. But then I remembered that girl from high school who had to have the poop bubble removed, and so maybe in comparison my story wasn't really so weird after all. Except when Victor came home, I told him about it, because how could you not share that story? And he got all testy about the laxatives and implied that I, quote, couldn't be trusted in the house unsupervised. And I'm all, glass half full, asshole, I didn't get raped, right? And he shouted back, "You were never in danger of getting raped." But I think he just said that to hurt my feelings. And so I retorted, "Oh, I am always in danger of getting raped. Thank you very much." And he was all, "I'm not questioning your rape ability. I'm just saying I can't go away for 2 days without you ODing on laxatives." And that's when I made a mental note that from now on I would never tell him about ODing on anything. And also that I should probably make friends with ambulance drivers, because I bet they have some pretty kick-ass stories. That was really hard. I'm so glad that's over. Now we get to do the much more relaxing part, which is the question and answer part, unless you ask me like a really tough question, and then I might cry and hide behind a chair. There's actually like a whole cubby back here, so I could. So I'm feeling much better now. So, do we have any questions? Yes.
When is Victor writing a book?
The question was, when is Victor writing a book? And the answer is never. Victor is never allowed to get even on the internet. Somebody yesterday asked me, is Victor ever right? And I was like, yeah, he's right like 95% of the time, but I only write about the 5%. So it would ruin everything if he got on the internet or wrote a book. So yeah, I don't even think he's finished reading my own book, to be honest with you. Like he's got, like every once in a while he's like, yeah, it's not bad. I could do it better, but it's not bad. Next question. Yes. 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 So the question was, so Stephanie Meyer, who wrote all the Twilight books, came to one of my book signings to have her book signed, which freaked the hell out of me. I was like, do you know who you are? She did. And I, as I was signing it, first of all, I spelled her name wrong. Like, I spelled Stephanie wrong. But she spells it in a weird way, so it was her fault. And so then I basically said, so sorry about everything I've ever said about Twilight in my entire life, because I'm a really big fan of Twilight, which is why I have to write about how stupid it is. Because that, like, if you're a really big fan, you have to either love the movie or hate the movie, or love the book or hate the book, and you've got to make fun of it. And I actually went to one of the Twilight premieres, like my town's premiere. It was like 8 people there. And I was dressed as a werewolf, in a full werewolf costume. And she said, no, actually, I saw that, and I thought it was great, and maybe you could come with me too when we do the next premiere. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, and you can wear Wolf Blitzer. So yeah. She's awesome. She did not give me her phone number or email, so we have had no contact since then. But she was very nice. She was very nice. Uh-huh.
I want to know if you're going to consider putting out a dish line of frisbees.
A dish line of what?
Frisbees.
Of frisbees. You know what? I would accept. They're so, like, you can go anywhere and get them for free, and that's so much better. Is when you're like, you're eating food out of your frisbee because you don't have any dishes left in your house that are clean, and then you turn it over and it says something like, fighting cancer since 1972, and then you're like, hell yeah, I am. Eating my pizza on this frisbee. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with that. Uh-huh.
What do you think that you would be doing if you weren't a writer?
If I wasn't a writer or a blogger, I would be doing drugs. Writing is such therapy to me, and when I have something that happens to me that's maybe really bad or really traumatic, or I'm having a hard time with something, I write it, and when I shut the page, it feels like it's kind of caught in between pages, and so I can go on and feel a little less depressed or anxious or whatever it is that I'm feeling. And so honestly, I really think I would be doing a lot of drugs. I mean, I think writing saved me. Yay. That's a terrible answer, but it's the answer. Sorry.
What's it been like meeting all of the nerd icons?
Oh my gosh, yes. Meeting all of the nerd icons is amazing and wonderful. Not in the least because they are exactly how you want them to be. They are totally normal, completely sweet, and so amazingly down to earth. And there's something so wonderful about that. My favorite person that I've ever met was Neil Gaiman, who wrote Sandman and like a ton of other stuff. But Sandman changed my life. Sandman was for me like the pinnacle of, oh my God, writing can change lives. And he has given me such great advice. And one piece of advice that he gave to me that I always share, and it's interesting because he just did a commencement and talked about it in his commencement, so it's interesting that we both talk about it. But when I was working on the audiobook, I have really bad anxiety disorder, and I was terrified, and the people that were doing the producers, when I was speaking, they would say, we can hear it in your voice, we can hear how scared you are, you really need to work on this, let's, why don't you take a break and then come back. And so I DM'd him and said, well, what do I do? Like, I know you've done this before, tell me something, just tell me something that'll make this okay, because they're gonna kick me out and I'm gonna fail at this and I just feel like a total loser. And he said, pretend you're good at it. And there was something so perfect about that, and that is exactly what I did. Is I walked in and I was like, I can do this. I'm someone else, and I did it. And any time when I'm terrified of something, that's what as a matter of fact, it's written on my arm, because that's what I had to write. Like on the way, I was like, okay, don't throw up and pretend you're good at it. All right. Nathan Fillion has not returned my calls. Surprisingly enough. And I'm under the impression that he is not going to. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that I know that work on Castle who have come to the things and they've been like, yeah, he's not going to do it. Which is a little disappointing, but I have faith in Nader Tater, and I think he's going to pull through. I think he's going to pull through, and I think it's going to happen. And what's really nice is I kind of gave up a little bit, and yesterday I asked Barack Obama if he'd give me a picture of himself holding twine, and I got a response from his team that they were like, we'll see what we can do, which is kind of badass. What would be really awesome is if Barack Obama tweets out the picture of himself holding up twine, and he's like, what's your deal, Nathan Fillion? That would be awesome. I was like, I'll get you 1 billion votes. Just hold fucking twine. It's so easy. It'll take you 2 seconds. It's so easy. Yes.
Does Haley share the love of ethically taxidermy animals?
She does, to a point that is frightening. I got the mongoose and the snake, the cobra, that were fighting with each other, and it was just a little bit too much for me. To be honest with you, it freaked me out, and so I put it out in the garage, and I went to tuck her in and make sure she was all tucked in, and she was sleeping with it. I was like, oh my God, it so grossed me out. I was like, you're hugging a cobra. I'm the worst mother ever. No, you never want to like walk in on your child who's hugging a cobra, you know? That's when you know you failed. I felt bad. Yes.
Okay, this will sound creepy till I tell you I run a perfume blog, but what perfume do you wear?
I don't wear perfume. I suck. I'm sorry. God, I wish I did. I occasionally will wear Teen Spirit deodorant because I think it smells nice. And I wear it ironically too, because I'm like, I smell like Teen Spirit. So I actually didn't even realize that was the name of the deodorant until I found it at the store, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this to Nirvana. And then somebody else was like, no, they were there first. Shut up. Yes.
What's the strangest or funniest thing that's happened throughout all of this?
When I was in Dallas, they served booze, lots and lots of booze, and so by the time that I got out there, everyone was drunk, and like that point of drunk, like there's a happy point of drunk where people are like, yeah, and then there's that other part of drunk where people are like, yeah, and it was uncomfortable, and so people were like, they weren't heckling me, but they were just heckling in general. And so it was kind of uncomfortable, but it was awesome. It was fine. But every time I would try to sneak in to go to the bathroom, everyone was throwing up in there, and I could never get a toilet that didn't have vomit on it. And then someone passed out, hit the back of her head. The ambulance came. They set all the alarms off in the system. The fire engines came. Yeah, I'm gonna say that was probably the weirdest. And then after that, I was like, maybe we could have a drink limit from now on. Like 10. Just cut them off at 10. Uh-huh.
If you were from down so hear the questions. Stand up.
If you were from down to side of going to the weasel and all your taxidermy animals came to life, you would hang out with first.
Oh my gosh. If all of my taxidermied animals came to life, I would have to hang out with Juanita because she just looked so excited. Plus, she would totally back me up. No matter what, if I was like, oh my gosh, I had a really good time, she would be like, awesome. And if I was like, oh, somebody was mean to me on the internet, she would be like, bitches. Like, no matter what, she's like, I got your back. Juanita. Uh-huh.
So, has Beyonce gotten any new friends?
Beyonce has not really gotten any new friends. As a matter of fact, she has fallen and she can't get up. She fell, and inside of her, a bunch of hornets had laid a nest. And so every time I try to right her, they kind of go crazy, and I'm like, I'm trying to help you. So it's a little sad. It's like she has like a built-in burglar alarm inside of her. It's just a little sad.
Something for you.
Oh, yay! Thank you. I'll open it later. Thank you. So nice. And any other questions? Oh, over there.
I feel like we hear a lot of stories about Victor being in trouble. What's a story about Sweet Victor?
Sweet Victor. You know what? That's one story about Sweet Victor is that. So I bought Beyonce the giant metal chicken. Obviously, we had a pretty big argument about it, which is people don't realize that we have like really one rule in our house, and that's I can't post anything that we are currently truly fighting about because Victor's like, you're gonna win because you'll have the internet on your side, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna win because I'm right. And so I waited. It was like a week after. I had to wait until he was like, it's okay, it's fine. I like Beyonce. It's all right. What was awesome is that he went out and bought like a big metal egg so that Beyonce could have a baby. So deep down, he does love Beyonce. He does. You can't convince the very angry people on the internet who are still very mad that I bought that chicken. How dare you spend your husband's money? If I had a nickel for every time somebody had said that, I could pay for Beyonce. So yeah. Okay?
Do you have any advice for people? Do you have any advice for people who might have a lot of stories in their head, thinking about their own crazy families and write that?
Absolutely. It's interesting because when a lot of people are under the assumption that this was a blog to book, what it really was is I wrote the book first, or I wrote a couple of chapters, and I didn't know anything about blogging. I was just writing this story because I wanted to have it for my daughter. But what happened was as I was writing, I realized that I was not very good at it, and I didn't have a voice. And I was reading this blog on the Houston Chronicle, and this mother who was writing it said, I don't think that you can be a good parent and a good blogger at the same time, so I quit. And I emailed the editor and said, apparently I'm a terrible mother because I'll do it for free. Which is how I got my first job, although I don't think you can call it a job if you do it for free, but I'm going to say it was a job. And so I started doing that, and then I kept getting in trouble for saying inappropriate things. I know, it's shocking. And so I started the Blog-S just as a place that I could curse for my 3 friends. And it grew and grew, and I found my voice. And at a certain point, I horribly embarrassed myself in a public place, and my agent was there and was like, what the fuck just happened? And that's how I kind of got discovered. And she said, I bet you have a book in you. And I was like, no, I have a book, but it's not for publishing. And she read it, and she was like, no, it needs to be published. Someone will read it. We'll find at least 5 or 6 people who will read it. And so I thought, okay, I'll do it because it'll be funny to write about on the blog when it fails so miserably. And then it didn't. So I guess I would say write, and write for yourself, because if you write for yourself, you're never sad with what you get paid with, and because what you get paid with is your stories, and those are going to be with you forever and with your family forever. Anybody else before we do the signing? Oh, yes.
Do you know who runs the Copernicus Facebook page?
I have no idea. I have no one will tell me. I have no idea. I had thought it was somebody, and I emailed him, and he said, no, it's not me. So I don't know who it is. As a matter of fact, I don't even follow him because it's a little dark. Even for me, it's a little dark. Not that I have anything against it. If you do something funny, do it, and you don't need my permission. But no, I'm not the Copernicus. The Beyonce one. I do own the Beyonce Facebook page, but that's it. And then there was another question right there.
Well, I guess I'm just outing myself to the world, but there's no free color, but my 7-year-old daughter wants to know if she still has Copernicus.
I do. Not only do I have Copernicus, but he is in my purse. Right there. And when I do my signing, I'll put him out on the table so that if you want to go by and get a picture with Copernicus, you totally can stop by and do that. So exactly, free hugs. It's a strangle you haven't finished yet. All right, so shall we do the signings?